It's tea with Mr. V.
Hi everybody, we back. Yeah, we're back with season 2 of Tea with Mr. V. Welcome. God damn, it is here.
Yeah.
Wait, did we have the holy screen up? It's not coming up for me. Not the whole. Is it? Okay, all good. It's probably just my thing. Anyway, hello everybody. It's Tea with Mr. V coming back. And joining us today, we have the wonderful, the amazing Princess Mustafa. Hi Moose, how you doing, buddy?
What it do? I am doing fantastic. It's a good day, and I'm super happy and just glad to be here. It's a great day.
Well, thank you for coming on the first episode of season 2. We had to get someone special in. Haha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah. Hang on. I gotta get my hit. Okay. So, is the audio live? Sorry. Okay. All right. Were we able to be heard? Okay. So we're gonna start again because we had a little bit of a tech issue. Let's rerun that back. Hi guys. That's okay. Sorry. Producer in my ear. Hi everybody. Welcome back to season 2 of Tea with Mr. V. We're back here on ThisShowIsAMimic. Same great time, same great thing. And today, joining us, we have the lovely, amazing, wonderful Princess Mustafa. Hi, Moose. How you doing, baby?
Hello! I am fantastic. It is a super good day. I'm excited and I am honored to be here in Team with Mr. V. It's a fun time, but most of all, I'm very excited to be chilling with you.
Yeah, very excited to be chilling with you too today. Like, thank you for coming on the very special first episode of season 2. Oh, we've been going a while. Oh man. Let's see if I got this. Okay, so before we start the show, we gotta have a few shout outs and announcements and shiz like that. So first of all, you probably heard our little It's Tea with Mr. V. So thank you, Wes, for that. He is forever immortalized within the show because he is awesome. And speaking of Wes, we also have to thank for the music, Arcane Anthems, and Music T20, Will Savino. It is really good music. You can probably hear it. Nice and chill and shit like that. All right. Make sure to go check them out on their Patreons at Arcane Anthems and at Music T20 on Patreon. Wes is also on TikTok. You probably know him from there. So make sure to follow our socials, guys. We have got a Twitter, which you can follow for updates, as well as when we're going to go live here, and probably a sneak peek about who's going to be, later on the Tea with Mr. V schedule. Yeah. So just follow at ShowMimic on Twitter, and everywhere else should be ThisShowIsAMimic. Also, if you want to support the channel, we got a Ko-fi and we got a Redbubble where there's gonna be some merch drops soon. So like, make sure to check that out. We also got all of our previous merch on there. And if you just want to, just support the show, go ahead. Like, it's awesome. I'm pretty sure you can find the links down below, down in the description. Also, we got a big revamp of the overlays, and I just want to take a second and just thank Birdie the Bard for our absolutely schmexy new overlays and new assets. It is Absolutely amazing. We both looking amazing today. Um, and
As always. But
speaking
even
of
better
being
because of her.
speaking of being so amazing, Moose,
That's me.
introduce yourself. How you
Why,
been?
hello there. I'm fantastic. As you said, my name is Mustafa. Name so nice you gotta say it twice, or as known on the internet, the Super Goat. I'm known to do all sorts of things all throughout the internet, mostly focusing on nerd stuff, but specifically TTRPGs, so tabletop role-playing games, and Dungeons and Dragons most of the time. So I do all that on TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, sometimes Instagram. So the fun things. Hopefully IRL when like the panorama starts dying down a little, all the things. But yeah, no, mostly just nerding out, doing poetry as well, and yeah, it's all the things.
Yeah. Make sure to go follow him on @TheSuperGoat. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially on the TikToks where you'd be able to see a promotion of a very, very old jingle that we had made by Matt Dankles. That's cool. And so, as always, at the start, Moose.
Yes.
It is tea with Mr. V.
What
What are we drinking today, buddy?
Alright, so today we are we are not drinking, but we are
We're
drinking
drisking?
a
We
nice little hibiscus. Yeah, we're drinking a cool little hibiscus. A chilled hibiscus thing.
Yeah.
So the hibiscus is hibiscus in general has a really nice place in my heart. But this drink is a chilled version of hibiscus tea. So essentially, you steep the leaves and then just put them in the fridge. Hibiscus is a very versatile drink. So in Sudan, it's very very common, very popular in general to drink, be it hot or cold. You can drink it at any point of the day in whichever version that you would like. But for me specifically, my dad's always really liked it and has sworn by it, right? Either to like as a remedy to like drop high blood pressure and things like that. But I've just really enjoyed the taste and it's stuck with me all throughout my childhood. And so as you've kind of gleaned right now, I was born and raised in Sudan, but I went to the US to study college and I stayed there for 6 years. And in that time, one of the things that I would like always get was bags and bags of hibiscus. I would get them with me when I went home, which I went home a couple times and I just grabbed them with me. And it was always a taste of home for me. So hibiscus just now holds a nice place in my heart where I get to just remember all the nice things throughout the day. So yeah,
that's really sweet.
Thank you.
I feel honored to be drinking this with you right now. Not gonna lie. Oh my god, a little bit of bit of a dink, a little bit of a dink.
Yeah. Also, look at my little kitty cat on my freaking mug.
So cute.
Oh, I love this cat. I also got this as a gift one New Year's where I was spending New Year's alone in the dorms at college, and my best friend came back like the day after and was like, "Hey, I got you a bunch of presents," and it was this and like a set of dice in it, and I was like, "You do love me very much, thank you." It was great. It's wonderful. Yeah. Here's actually the set of dice. I didn't realize they were like close by, but yeah, they're a super cool set as well, and I love them. It's great.
Yeah, it is amazing. I also this was a gift, and I've appreciated it ever since. It is now brand. It is now my brand.
It is the cupcake cup. Oh,
it is the mug. Wait, I'll get it so you can see the cherry. There we go. Ooh, sexy.
I didn't know there was a cherry on the other end. Wow.
Whoa.
No, I really like that, and I really appreciate sentimental gifts. Like big gifts are great, but that's just something that I really appreciate. Most of the things that I own have some sort of like sentimental value. I don't like buying like super cool expensive things, but like sentimental value is great. Like even shirt I'm wearing is it is a concert t-shirt from Andy Grammer that says "working on it," which is a nice little cool thing that I like to do. And it's like just written out. I'm sorry, chat. I had to
real
like,
slick.
I panicked. Okay, I panic winked. I could have like been like, yeah, no, it's like real cool, baby, but like instead it's much better. So it's cool. But yeah, no, I went to an Andy Grammer concert a while back. I got a free ticket to an Andy Grammer concert, who now follows me on Twitter, but then
Oh, I think we're having some technical issues. Hey, yeah, we'll be right back. We'll be on the whole screen. Hey, sorry about that, folks. Boblin the Tech Goblin, kind of back in the wires again. You know what I do. I mean, like,
it do be like that.
I mean, like, considering that, you know, last time Boblin showed up really was, you know, back in a certain charity stream that both me and you were in a committee of. What a transition. Let's talk about that. It's been a while since we actually talked about that on stream.
It has been, hasn't it? So yeah, one of the things that I am working on is the Rolling for Charity stream, which you and I are both founding members of, and it is a 24-hour charity stream where we raise money for Doctors Without Borders. And it was an idea that was incepted in the middle of the night with a crew of 5 peeps. We're in a chat and was like, yo, what if we did this? And we did. In 4 months, we were able to pull it off in such a wonderful success. The goal was $1,000, and we ended up breaking that goal in the first hour of the 24 and jumping in to raise $7,109 in total. Like and it was right. Holy wowza! Everybody was crying. Everybody was just freaking out, and it was an amazing time
as well. We were so dead.
Yeah, I still can't get over the fact, and I don't think I will, but that I almost overslept, and it was fine. It was fine. You know, we made the joke about somebody oversleeping, and I did. I slept through most of my alarms.
The joke at the start of the stream was that you were the only one who showed up.
Yes.
You were the one who almost slept.
I fucked up hard.
But
oh golly.
No one knew about that until now.
No. Yeah, so that's there you go. Teams Mr. V exclusives, baby.
If anybody wants to throw me some shade in the chat, you know.
it It is well deserved. It is well deserved. Yeah, but no, the charity stream is coming back this year. We are currently prepping up. It is hosted right here over at the Shazam channel. So you can find us right here whenever November 13th rolls by. And if you are interested in participating, I do have the signups up on my link tree. But the thing I appreciate about this charity stream, I think, is the fact that like everybody involved wants to do what's best for the charity, right? Everybody wants to bring out their best to raise money for this wonderful cause, which Doctors Without Borders is an organization that helps bring medical support to all these groups that might not have that support. And that is such a wonderful cause, and being able to help them out is absolutely amazing. And they're also just such a cool crew to like help out. They're always very excited about any amount of help that we can give, and just being able to do that is super cool. So yeah, no, I think we're gonna have a lot of different tabletop role-playing games. We've updated our roster from last year, so we're gonna have a whole lot of different games, like 7th Sea and Kids on Broom. So we're gonna have magic and high fantasy and swashbuckling adventures, and yeah, we got a little bit of something for everybody.
Yeah. It's definitely been exciting to watch it all come together again for the second time, and like,
right,
yeah, this time we're like, I know we're hoping to do it a lot better, go a lot bigger, you know, to like be
higher, faster, better, baby.
Yeah, work it harder, make it better.
Yeah, no, I think one of the other cool things is that we have not had a shortage of people interested, and it just shows how, like, it shows the good in the communities that we are in, specifically the TTRPG communities. If there are so many people wanting to jump in, offer their time, offer their talents and their skills and their efforts to showcase during these events, and to be able to get a higher audience, a bigger audience. Even people who can't participate are always saying that they would love to help support, even if it's advertise the event and things like that. And that is just a great time and very heartwarming, and it's a very nice palate cleanser to, you know, there's always a lot of hate in the world, but it's nice to know that there's a lot of good to combat that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, like you said, it's very heartwarming to see the amount of support from people, both wanting to participate, wanting to, you know, get the word out there as well. It's all good. And again, if you want to sign up, we got a bunch of our community members have got the sign up sheets there if you haven't done it already.
You can also find us at Twitter as well at R4C stream, R4C stream. And you can find all the links up there as well. We have a link tree and all the fun jazz where you can like click on things and even see what last year's event looked like. Yeah. It is over at the Shazam YouTube.
It is. We have got it over there. And speaking of TTRPGs, Moose.
Yes.
Now, I have to ask, you on here, Super Splash of Color.
Yes.
First of all, how's that going, buddy? Tell us about it.
Absolutely. So, to get into Super Splash real quick, is my background with TTRPGs was I started playing a while back, and as everybody did during the pandemic, where a lot of D&D TikTok did during the pandemic, is we jumped in there and we found our places and our friends and our niches and all that cool jazz. And that is exactly what I did. And during that time, I wanted to feel at home, and I was struggling to find my niche. And one of the things that I realized as I was watching a few videos here and there is that I haven't really played a lot of games with POCs. I at that point played with one, maybe two. So I was wanting to get more people together, and I wanted to get games that are only people of color. And that's what Super Splash of Color is. It started off as a series of one-shots where I got to play with different creators every time, and it was the very first story and the ones after as well, were ones based off of Sudanese culture. So they were things that I knew about and stories that had been told to me as a little kid by my mother and my grandparents, and these were stories that were told down generations and generations before me. So I wanted to bring those out to the world as well. So bringing in all of these cultures, showcasing what people of color could bring to the table if given the chance, and that is what we did. The games itself were started off as a self-contained one-shots, but then those grew into becoming one-shots that affected what happened next, and then it has most recently changed up once again, and it is become it is a recurring. It's a long-term campaign, or a short-term campaign, if you will. It was a 3-month or so game, and we are using a Powered by the Apocalypse system, specifically the Masks and New Generation system. So this game is a group of superheroes in Matumba City, and Matumba is the village where my tribe is from, where my parents grew up, and where I still go a lot. So it is based off of that city, or that village, and what it would have looked like if it had been if it had become metropolis and the center of superhero attention, if it became where superheroes went to, essentially. That's what the premise of that is. So we have a lot of super cool things. We have a carbon manipulator. We have somebody who's like super smart, think like Nightwing style superhero, and we have somebody who's made completely out of metal, a lightning bender, things like that. And the nice thing about that is there aren't necessarily a lot of like combat mechanics per se. A lot of it is role play based, and I'm a very role play heavy person. I really like role playing. I love me some combat, but I love role play more, and this gives me a very nice balance of that. This strikes a really cool in between for me. But again, it feels very nice to be able to play at a table where I know that the people around me are going to be pushing me forward in ways that I hadn't before. And while it is nice to play with everybody else, playing with people like myself, it gives me a nice reprieve every once in a while, of not necessarily having to mask any parts of myself or anything else.
Oh, I think that Moose is frozen again. We will be right back. We're gonna go back to a hold screen real quick. And yeah, we will. And we're back.
And
we're back.
Yeah.
Ignore what happened. Pick it up where we left back off. Yeah. So it definitely feels really nice. Also to see from an audience perspective, just a bunch of POCs having a good time and playing together. It's really nice to see, especially with current climates of, yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And no, I agree. And I think one of the things that like I really like about Super Splash, right, is that like time and time again, people will look at me and say that like the TTRPG community has always been wonderful and always been great. And like I agree with that, right? I've said that in this episode that I think it's a great community and it has a lot of good, but I also think that people tend to overlook a lot of the bad in it. And that's one of the things, like I said, like Super Splash is a place because it was needed, in my opinion. It was a lot of those POC only shows need to happen because we are not being given the space, or we are being actively alienated in a lot of these spaces. And that is an issue that has become more and more prevalent as we move on into general streaming and things like that, where a lot of the problems that are currently ongoing with like hate rates in this platform, as well as like a lot of just in general problems that POCs find, like in the TTRPG space. We always get the burden of telling people what is and what isn't racist, and figuring out what all the like intricacies of all those things, and in the end taking the brunt of a lot of the problems and the damage and the things that happen. Yeah. So like, while I really like Super Splash, I do sometimes wish there wasn't necessarily a need for places like that. And I wish that, but with everything, there's always silver linings, and I am forever appreciative of the people that I've gotten to play with, and just the games that I've been able to build. Being able to build a story off of a folklore tale that was like just told by my tribe is just absolutely wonderful. That is an experience I will not give up. Like, I mean, I wrote that story at a time, like the game, the one shot that I'd written was based off Fatima and the Red Canes. And I couldn't remember the story very well, so I was able to sit down with my mother and flesh out the details of this fairy tale, and that was a very nice exercise of just being able to talk to my mother about these things that like weren't necessarily super like weren't a high risk thing, right? We were just chatting, we were just chilling at a time in the middle of quarantine where I was alone and had nobody around, and like I was continents away from my family, but got to feel close to them. And those are some really nice experiences, and I got to share it with the world. So
that's so special. That's definitely creating that special place for not only not only your players to feel comfortable, but like for you to be able to tell this story out there.
Right.
It's awesome. I reckon you've done a really good job, Moose. Like,
thank you,
creating these spaces and being a massive advocate as well.
I really appreciate it, and I think one of the things that I gotta give like shout outs to is that like I it's always nice seeing people doing some sort of effort, right? Like it was when I joined the TTRPG community, there were very few other, like specifically on TikTok, there were very few other POCs in the community. However, as I started like posting more and more about like the hard things for POCs to deal with in the community, more and more people started talking about it. And like there were people before me who'd started the conversation, and as I did, more people started building off. And it's just always very nice seeing that I'm not alone, and we in general all are not alone. If somebody isn't able to continue the fight, the good fight, if you will, somebody else is willing to take that up, and other people are able to as well. I was like super busy, like within the last bouts of like of conversations and discussions that had happened on TTRPG TikTok, and seeing all these other wonderful POCs who are now in the community, who weren't there like 8 months ago, who are now there and are pushing to do all these amazing things, is so freaking heartwarming. And seeing them doing all this wonderful work is just amazing. Because like I look, there are times where like the work gets hard and you want to just stop, but seeing them again is very nice, and it helps recharge things a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And like speaking of TikTok, how did you start your journey in like becoming an online presence in this kind of sense? Did it start with TikTok? Did it start somewhere else? Like,
yeah, I think so. I think like content creation for me before this was very focused on well, I guess I did a lot of other activism stuff before that. I worked in college as a social justice educator, and while I was doing that, I did a lot of work based around it. Sudan specifically was going through a revolution while I was away, so it was very hard for me to be able to do anything that I felt was impactful from far away, and I was trying to find, as hard as I could, ways to do that. And my way of doing that was creating videos and poetry based off of the revolution, how I felt, what it meant to me, and things like that. And that I feel like was probably my biggest foray into content creation before TikTok. I'd done content for other organizations and things like that as like as marketing specialist, but not anything that I was not content that I'd created for myself. So there was that. And however, on TikTok, I started on TikTok all the way back in like November 2018, but for the longest time, I was on residential live TikTok. So I was in like the dorms and things like that in universities, because like I worked with them for like 5 years throughout my college career at like the 6 of them. And so that's what I'd started up with. I did a lot of like just memes and videos based off of that until pandemic hit, and I started transitioning over to D&D TikTok and doing more TTRPG focused stuff. But again, most of the stuff that I was doing before was still heavily influenced by like social justice and making sure that people had a space. People always found room to be able to jump into spaces and things like that. But then moved on to TikTok from there, and then started on Twitch and doing actual plays and live streams and things like that.
Yeah.
I now do Twitter and stuff as well on there. I've been doing that for a while, but now I do TTRPG content and more unpersonalized content. So like not just stuff about me, but like talking more about like, you know, TTRPG stuff as well on there.
Yeah.
And trying to find the perfect shawarma sandwich. But yes.
Yes, I remember that. Wasn't that your bio for like a bit on TikTok?
It still is.
It still is.
On Twitter. Yeah. I do rate shawarma sandwiches every time I do do eat them. I need to like put them all in a thread, but yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Great time.
Twitter is a whack place. I'm gonna be honest.
It is. It really is.
Do not understand it. I have Twitter, but it gets away from me every time.
Wild. No, I think my favorite thing about Twitter is that like being able to curate my following feed to people whose takes I really appreciate and things like that. And while it puts me in a bubble, I use my regular Twitter feed as a place to like just see what my friends are up to and see what takes they've got and things like that, and like having conversations with them, as opposed to like finding news and other points of view and things like that. Those I intentionally seek out, but it is nice for the default to be, hey, these my homies, we chilling.
Yeah, hell yeah. Chilling with the homies, always good. It's what we do here on Tea with Mr. V,
baby.
That's what it is. Just chilling with homies. And just out of curiosity, so what is some of the hottest takes you've ever seen / thing? I'm just curious.
Okay.
What's some hot takes with Moose?
I think some of the really interesting things that I find most recently in TTRPG Twitter specifically, as opposed to TikTok, because like TikTok has like some hot takes, but not as hot as Twitter. They always like
Twitter's so hot.
Golding down there. Nah. But I think I don't see, the thing is like I don't necessarily think it is a hot take per se, but I think it's something that I find interesting, is that like if you play D&D, then you don't role play, right? Like that's a hot take that I saw recently, which like is a very interesting thing, because like while D&D has combat, it is a third of the game, because like there is role play and there is exploration and things like that, but it's supposed to be a third of the game. And
Yeah.
a lot of the times whenever people bring up D&D, they say it's bogged down by the mechanics of like combat and things like that in those spheres. But that was the hot take, was that like if you play D&D, then you don't role play. And I think that was a very, in my opinion, shitty hot take.
Yeah.
Because like the game doesn't necessarily dictate what you play or how you play it. It is a frame of reference that everybody can understand before you jump into the game, and you can go from there.
Yeah.
But like there are a lot of roleplay heavy D&D games, a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
And I think things like this stem specifically from using things like the experience points system tracker, which, if not used properly, can be very detrimental for roleplay, because you end up in a meat grinder sort of game, and you just fight person after person, and it is you're just doing it for the experience points so you can level up. And like it's nice to level up, but if you have that sort of game, it would definitely benefit from switching it up every once in a while, to seeing how that rolls out as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Helping cull down the bloodlust.
Yeah, I definitely am the fan of milestone level ups.
Right.
It is.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think so. Here's the thing, right? I think if I were to play in a homebrewed game, and like a completely homebrewed game as opposed to like a module, and being able to like balance it out like halfway through, right? Like saying, hey, yes, you'll get experience points. However, you can get like experience points doing other things. I think that would be a very cool thing. But like, I absolutely like, because there's something cool about being like, yeah, I did that thing, therefore I got points, like a direct correlation, like, instant serotonin injection to my brain. It's like, yes, I did this really cool, I got this really cool RP moment, therefore I got XP. But then you would need your DM to understand to be able to balance out those things, and like what's important to your party versus what isn't. So if you were to use XP, definitely not just pulling it straight out of the book, and it does definitely need to like get reworked if you don't want it to be like a fighting system. But like, I agree, easiest way to do it, and like a super cool way, is just to like go milestone.
Yeah, and it's not even like a oh, this happened, milestone, like level up. It can, like, you can work it in so many different ways. Like, say like it could work off of experience, where like you've just finished like this big long quest where a lot of the characters learned a lot about themselves, and and then it's just like, well, then it would make sense that, hey, you guys level up, or like, yeah, it's
absolutely,
it's good.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, as well as just from a DM perspective, like XP is just, it's complicated for me. It's too complicated.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that like one of the things that I think that helps me about, like, I appreciate milestone more, because I can in my mind be like, if they hit this story beat, they will need to do that, right? It gives me also, for me, I've done only one long-term campaign that I've only DM'd one long-term campaign, and like, while that is a very different experience than like one shots, I think I used milestones, and it made things easier for me, because I didn't have to worry about like balancing out encounters necessarily, where like I balanced them out as much as I could, and like always my party was always smart enough to, like, if they were getting in over their heads, they'd like dip and things like that, and I didn't like make my monsters, like, most of the time, especially as they were at low levels and starting up, I didn't like make them like follow always and things like that, right? Like, they were always like, yeah, cool, give them room to grow. As I grow as a DM, they're growing as players, because a lot of them were like first time players as well. So like, we were able to grow together that way. But I know if I'd used experience at that point, it would have been a very different thing of like, they're like, yeah, we want to level up faster, so let's keep this fight, and we would have had like TPKs and things like that. But a lot of times they're like, nah, we know if we leave this fight, if we like make it out and we still keep going and we get our objective anyways, we'll get like some form of compensation in game. And I'm like, yeah, of course you will. You did some really badass stuff. You'll get it. Cool. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I definitely think like what you mentioned before about, you know, becoming meat grinder games. That's when you kind of have. I tend to notice a lot more quote unquote motor hobos playing XP games, because then it's just like, oh, I killed this town guard, give me XP. Like, it's
Yeah. I think whenever I think about things like this, I always think about the meme that like wizard schools shouldn't be a thing if that was the case, right? If you only use experience points, you can, if to become a really high level wizard, you just gotta go out there and like kill low level creatures, and then you'll get like experience. Therefore, you leveled up. Therefore, you can learn more spells, and like that shouldn't be the case. That's why I think, I think like most things, in my opinion, there should be a happy in between, right? Like if you wanted to do experience, you can keep track of your experience point, like of your crew's experience points, being like, hey, they fought this many things in this, like they've had like a lot of fights recently, they've had a lot of like RP moments, now feels like a good time to level them up, or like they're getting into a really big fight, I don't want them to die, and I'll like level them up, or like let them know that they're about to like give them, you know, in story hints of like, yo, this beholder's about to beat somebody up, if you don't like take some time to prep before, and then like take some downtime until they're able to like do cool things and level up as well, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. God, it's been so long since I've run a game myself that like I'm currently going through like some homebrew world building and stuff like that. Like it's a time. It
is a time, and I think like I will say that it's hard, but it is homebrew world building is some of my favorite stuff, of just being able to sit there and build a world, and in the end seeing something that has mostly come out of your imagination is absolutely amazing, and the energy that comes out of that is hard to be paralleled. It is super cool.
And you can like
I do miss that.
And you can definitely like tailor it towards like your play. Well, there isn't anything wrong with modules. I played through modules and DM through modules. Having a world where you can tailor it to your players so that they can have like a good experience, and like they're able to explore their characters is just it's great. You love to see it.
Hell yeah. If you like homebrewing your world, say hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Gotcha.
They could stay. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh goodness me. No, it is a very fun time. Homebrewing is a very hard thing. I think even as I do modules, my first, like again, like the game that I DM'd like long term was a home game that was a Princes of the Apocalypse book. It was a module from Wizard of the Coast that we had all chosen and like decided to play through, but we were able to homebrew a lot of things, like the backgrounds of our characters. One of our characters was Genasi, so we were able to like homebrew a lot of where their character came from, so that way a lot of the world itself was homebrewed. And in general, while I kept a lot of the story beats the same, something that I like to do in general is like, hey, if it doesn't directly affect the story, I am going to take a whole lot of liberties, and even if it does, I'm going to change up a lot of things, right? Like I was able to change up some of the bigger story beats, to merge them and to make them enticing for the players, and to make it make sense for their characters to be around. And in the end, it felt like it was a half homebrew, half module sort of game, and that's like what happens with a lot of campaigns as they start as modules. But I think being intentional about that in the beginning makes a lot of difference. I didn't start off thinking that way until like halfway through, then started changing up things and stuff like that to make it like cool for me and like exciting and interesting. So I think that's just something that I like to do, and I would recommend for people to do as well.
Yeah, definitely. don't click on that link at all. Chat at all. Can we get a mod to delete that, please? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah. And I think with that, we're gonna pop over to some questions, some Q&A, some Q&A questions.
Are the questions for me?
Please, can you not ban Meister Hypester? That's a friend. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. With that, yeah, I reckon let's get into some questions. So if you have any questions for the wonderful Moose, pop them down in the chat, and we'll get them. But the first question comes from our wonderful friend, Coffee Kisses K.
I love them.
Can you tell us about your favorite NPC that you've ever created?
Ooh. Alright, cool. So I think this has got to be a little twofold here, because like I got like a serious NPC that I've created that like has a warm place in my heart, and then an NPC that like just made me giggle and like I cannot forget about. And for like the warm fuzzy one is Fatima is the NPC's name, and it was from the story that I talked about earlier. It was the first one shot that I ran online. It was a real cool crew of like Matt Denkels, as well as like Oat Cookie and TP Corso, all three on TikTok. But they were the ones that ran through the story that I oh, hello?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. No, my ping jumped for a sec. Was worried, but we're good.
We good.
But Fatima is Fatima, and there is from the story of Fatima and the Red Canes, and it is a folklore story that was like passed down in generations. And like I said, it is just such a super cool story. And in this story, Fatima gets abducted by a beast that like sleeps for 7 years and like wakes up for like one. So like it's an ancient being that like just comes and terrorizes the village, and like she's abducted by it but is able to escape, where hundreds and hundreds of people before her hadn't. From her own tenacity and like beliefs and things like that, she was able to like make it out. And building that character was just super cool, and then getting to like play her as well as an NPC was just absolutely amazing. It made me feel badass, and I really liked it and love Fatima as a whole, and would definitely like to bring her into more games. I think I'll have to find ways to like incorporate her into other things. She is based off of a lot of like ancient pharaohs and things like that, because like that's a lot of like the people in like my areas and things like that were back in the day were like the pharaohs and the people who built the pyramids and things like that. So it's a very, very interesting mix that I was able to bring there. And my other one was a pair of like from the current Super Splash run, the Hero Comics, right? It is it's a pair of twins whose superpowers is to suck Wi-Fi essentially, and when they do, they turn more chicken than human, and I call them the Chicken Big Twins as opposed to like Chicken Little, because they get bigger and they become like these 12-foot behemoth chickens, and they're great, and I love them so much. And like they're out here stealing Wi-Fi from like major shitty corporations. They're chicken Robin Hoods is what they are, and I love them very much. Okay.
That was such a switch. That was such a switch between characters. That was threw me for a loop.
Yeah, no, I love the Chicken Big Twins. Oh, goodness me.
Chicken Big.
Yeah.
Right. Amazing. Okay. Our next question is from the wonderful Chaos Pixie 93.
Hey,
Yeah.
love it.
Hi. What's your favorite enemy or monster in D&D?
All right, cool. I think beholders. Beholders are in my heart, they are what feels like what dragons are to a lot of people. They are terrifying to me as a player. They are just something that I find very hard to like be able to work around as a player, because I'm like, okay, I don't know what the heck I have to do to be able to beat them. It's always super hard to plan around them, and they always just tend to just come up at like the wildest times for like parties I've been in. So I think beholders are my favorite enemy to like throw out, but they're also the scariest one for me to be against. And real quick side note about beholders, I saw a video recently where somebody said that they gave their party each a ring, and it was from a beholder they befriended, but the beholder had like a really shitty personality, and like if they all thought about the beholder at the same time, the beholder would pop up to help them out, but they really didn't want to do that because they didn't like the beholder. And they're like, you have a freaking beholder on your team. They're like, yeah, but Greg is like really annoying, okay?
Greg, fuck, god damn it, Greg.
Yeah, his name was Greg the Beholder, and I was cracking up.
Yeah.
It's great. So that's also another thing, is I really like putting twists to creatures like that. That's why I think my like second best, like after beholders, gotta be golden dragons, and just like things that are and just in general, I like subscribing to the fact of giving a creature stats of something that is obviously not it, right? Like giving like a little dog the stats of an ancient dragon or something like that, and like just messing it up, and like the team just like very casually is like, oh look, let me pet that dog, and then like 5 minutes later, as the dog is walking away, it like transforms into a dragon and like flies off into the distance, and they're like shitting bricks because, oh my god, we almost could have been eaten by that little doggo. Shit.
Oh damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh goodness me.
So next question from it's a short one, but I think it encapsulates this whole episode. From Nick the Tiefling, how are you so cool?
Oh, I got a cool answer for this one. I got an answer. 60% luck, 40%. Oh god, I forgot the rest of the song.
It's 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
Dang, V got bars. Let's go.
What? I listen to shit. What?
Heck yeah, V. Let's get it.
Okay.
Oh my goodness me. 10 out of 10. Thank you, Nick. I love you.
Absolutely. Coffee Kisses again with the questions. What mainstream celebrity would you want to bring into the world of TTRPGs?
Good point. I think I've thrown a few messages at them before, but I do think I'd really like to get some of my favorite artists in, specifically music artists, and making games based off of their songs. I'd love to get Andy Grammer on. I think he'd be a cool one. That's somebody that I'd really like. And thinking more about TTRPGs, I think people from games that I've fashioned stuff out of would be wonderful. So people who have I was a very big proponent of the Harry Potter movies as they were coming out. Granted, now the books and the movies are a big shit show with how J.K. Rowling's been treating trans peeps, and I think that's just that's a cutoff for me. However, there have been a lot of actors who have spoken up against it, and I'd really like to get some of them on as well, right? Like people like Emma Watson, who's spoken up against the transphobia, and Daniel Radcliffe and things like that. I'd like to get them on. I think that would be super neat, and getting them to play like maybe some kids on brooms, some magic stuff, see what they would do, right? As opposed to like what their characters would have done. I think would be a very cool thing to see.
I love
just
that
like
idea.
witness.
Getting the Harry Potter crew together to play Kids on Brooms. Make it happen. We're doing it.
We on it, V. We on it.
We on that.
You and I, we got this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, rolling for charity. Yeah, we'll get the Harry Potter crew to play Kids on Brooms.
We're doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um,
We've said it live. Now we gotta let the rest of the committee know.
And we got some custom questions from your audience, I believe. So where do you draw the line between like when playing other cultures?
Right. I think see, that is a very hard line to draw. I think, in my opinion, that line has gotta be based off of your table, yourself, and a lot of different things. I think some of the things that people look out for is the culture that you are playing. First off, knowing the stereotypes that come to that culture, right? And making sure that you actively avoid them, making sure that you know why they are stereotypes as is. Like, so if people tell you like that Black people are like very chaotic, right? Like, or like are very angry people, things like that, then figure out why people say that and know that it is because people are trying to put that group down and things like that, and understand why you need to not do things like that, right? Like any negative stereotypes that you can find, figuring out why it is why that is a system of oppression and how you can avoid that in the future as well. And the other thing is the people are around your table as well, and figuring out how you all can portray them together. I think even if you are trying to be respectful and others in your table are not, that can cause a whole lot of harm. And if you are also trying to play a culture of somebody else who might be at the table, then making sure that you have conversations with them. But I think at the crux of it for me is a lot of people are okay with you incorporating pieces of their culture as long as you are being appropriate. And the thing is, it depends on from person to person. So for me, if you are trying to play a person of color, for example, right, like that is a negative ghostwriter. And there are like exceptions here and there, like people who are willing to do the work and willing to do the effort, and are not doing it in a harmful way, then sure. But a lot of the times, especially in recent culture, in recent times, the TTRPG space, people will either do it to replace inclusion and replace diversity, where they're like, all right, cool, we have this crew, and to add more diversity to it, we are gonna have somebody from this crew play somebody who is not from the same group, right? Like just play somebody from a different culture, and using that as a crutch isn't necessarily helpful and isn't gonna help what you're trying to do. So I think playing different cultures is really, really hard. We see it a lot in cultures that are fetishized, especially in like TTRPG settings. One that keeps coming back and keeps happening is Asian cultures, specifically cultures in the East Asia area are appropriated a whole lot. And while there are a lot of East Asian content creators, they don't get the opportunities to make content about their own cultures. However, you find time and time again people appropriating their cultures and making it to using it to make content and publishing settings based off of what they believe like ancient Japan is used to be, whereas people of Japanese heritage and people from Japan are saying, hey, this is not what it is or what it was. You are just writing a fantasized version that you've glimpsed from different forms of media, but that is not the true thing. And we would like it if you didn't advertise this, that, like things like that, right? Yeah. Where you might be, your love for a culture does not mean you are being respectful. Giving giving them a spotlight does not equal and does not equate to so
it's definitely an important discussion to have, and it's a discussion that's needed as well.
Right. No, absolutely. Because like that's the thing, right? Like in a lot of fantasy games, people play because they want to explore things that they might not have been able to do, right? Like be it exploring something about yourself or something else in the world. Things like that. That's a-okay. And if you, as especially as a DM, right, like the things I've been talking about were most of them were based off of players playing other cultures as opposed to DMs, right? As a DM, it is a very different thing of you incorporating other cultures into your games, but again, still requires a lot of care and a lot of care and a lot of attention. But I think being able to bring in other cultures, reading about them, finding settings that are published by POCs about their own cultures and using those is a absolutely wonderful thing and a great way to enrich your games, even if you don't necessarily want to play them, right? Like if they use a different system or something, you can always use those ideas because they were done and built by POCs, and incorporating those into your worlds and things like that is a very great way to do so.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, cool. And I think that's all we have time for today.
Yeah.
Dang,
Dang, time flew by. This was wonderful.
Time do fly by, especially when you're hanging out with amazing company from the movies. Yeah. So, so before we sign off, Moose, have you got? Why don't you shout us out, or like shout yourself out, shout some people out that you think deserve a shout out.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thanks again, homies, for having me here. Again, if you are here, my name is Mustafa. And so nice you gotta say it twice. You can find me all throughout the internet as TheSuperGoat. That is not a supergoat, that is TheSuperGoat. Ahaha. You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. But on Twitch, you can find me more actively over at the Lark Network Twitch. That is the Lark Network, LARK. But that is where I do a lot of my TTRPG content. I do a lot of things all throughout the internet, like I said. I do a lot of podcasts and streams. You can find all that information as it comes out over on my Twitter and TikTok and all the other places where I like advertise my projects. I would also like to give a shout out to one of my favorite creators, Amelia Som. You can find them over at Amelia Som on TikTok, Twitter, and right here on Twitch as well. They are a absolutely wonderful creator. She does a lot of TTRPG stuff, but a lot of educational stuff as well, and is just one of the most creative and wonderful people that I've gotten the opportunity to meet.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So thank you for joining us for episode 1 of Tea with Mr. V. We've got a lot more episodes to go. Make sure to follow us on our Twitter at TrPgs for updates, as well as This Show is a Mimic on most socials, if not all of them. Thank you again to Arcane Anthems and Music D20 for the music. And if you want to support us, make sure to go down to the little description down there. Go to our Redbubble. We've got stickers, we've got t-shirts, we've got designs. Or you can go to our Ko-fi as well if you just want to give us a little Ko-fi, which, I am not particularly a coffee drinker, but like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And yeah, that's been Tea with Mr. V. Thank you all for joining us. And for the first time in a while, that is the tea. Bye, guys.